Hello. I'm sorry, there's a speaker. Are we good on the stream and everything? All right. All right, hi everyone. Welcome to the post-lunch, post-photo session. Hi, Alish will talk to us about developing on Flatpak.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, you're probably tired of me talking about Flatpak, but I promise I'm going to talk about something different, or at least not entirely the same as I've done in the past. First of all, for those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Aleix. I'm from Barcelona, but I'm living here in Berlin these days. I'm the KDevelop president. You've seen me doing openings and things and the board report, but I'm also a KDE contributor. I've been developing KDE software for nearly 20 years now. And I'm between jobs, so I don't get to say who my employer is right now, but I can say that I am a Twitch streamer these days, together with Harald, and you're welcome to join us on Sundays at 6 p.m. We try to have fun and do KDE things over there, and I think it's kind of cool. And actually, this presentation is in big part inspired by discussions we've had over there, also discussions we've had in many other KDE forums, and yeah, let's get into it. Mostly we've been talking about Flatpak as a way to reach your users. Today, I want to talk about the development process. So, paraphrasing that famous Microsoft person, developers, right? As KDE, it's very important for us to make it possible to welcome new people and start working on our stuff. Most of them, if not all of them, start working on it, emphasis on the start, for free, and it needs to be like frictionless, and it needs to be easy, it needs to be fun, right? And I think that here we need to do very well. We've done a lot of work in that front from KDE. It's been an ongoing topic that we've been discussing. We've tried to address it many times. Actually, we've had goals on such topics since we actually came up with a goals concept. Like in 2018, on the round of goals, Neophytos suggested them actually one, so to speak, if it's winning to get the goal. The microphone is working weird. Do you hear me right? You hear me right, all right. And it's just me, I'm broken. 2018, we had the streamline onboarding of new contributors goal. And actually, a lot of these discussions were already happening back then, even on the Flatpak, with Flatpak on the equation. Actually, I was looking earlier, my first commit on the Flatpak runtime is from 2016. So actually, we can see that here it was like kind of started already. What Neophytos was trying there, for those of you who don't know Neophytos, he's not coming from this super technical angle, but more of a like, how do we include people, how we can make sure that people can contribute, and obviously like Ask KDE, which is a wide and heterogeneous community. It's not just developers we want, but definitely the developers is part of the things we need, right? And something that was discussed was already doing Flatpak there. On 2020, we had the goal called All About the Apps, where we were, again, talking about making it possible for KDE to start shipping applications to users directly, having the packaging, so to speak, happen within KDE rather than by third parties elsewhere. And Flatpak, again, was very much part of the equation and the discussion. I was looking at the 2022 goals, and I thought, why isn't there one that was directly related there? And my conclusion was that we had the Wayland one, and all of us were thinking about Wayland things, and we couldn't think about apps for a while, which actually I think it kind of makes sense. And on this round, we have the streamlined application development experience, which is, again, somewhat entirely on this topic. I know Nico has been focusing on some other stuff like different languages and so on, but what we're going to talk about here is very much the same, right? Like how can we make it possible for Flatpak to be that solution? So yes, Flatpak is again at the Academy saying, why don't you use me? So rather than just saying you use it, I'm gonna treat you as my venture capital buyer, and I'm gonna pitch it to you. So I'm gonna say, what if you could write your applications with your users in mind exactly on your laptop, so that they are having the same environment you used when you were developing it. For example, any KDE application, you will see that they have a .flatpak manifest JSON file there that already knows how to build the one application. You just get to use it. And that's not all. You will be working on all of that, but you will also be getting assets generated by the CI that you can also try yourself if you didn't build it like that. You can also send it to someone else who was the person who was experiencing the problem, because you don't always have the problems that you're addressing as a developer. But also, you get to have a new and easy setup for developers, right? Like, actually, what we've been doing in KDE has been kind of mental in a way, that like we put together this tool we call KDE Builder that actually rebuilds everything, just so that we make sure that you have the right version of everything in the system, which is like, yeah, effectively another distro, like could be Gen 2 or something like that. But also, that is not all yet, because we're used to not being able to reach the users from like older operating systems and older or long-term support kind of distros, right? And with that, we can do it. We can tell somebody, you can be on a stable operating system and then have this new feature I've been working on, because this is something that you actually care about. You might be fine with having an old Kwrite, an old Plasma, or an old whatever. But if you care about this new KDE Live feature, you get to implement it, send it to your users, and they use it. And they're happy, you're happy, and everyone's happy, which is what we're after. Now, taking a step back, why am I making this presentation? Is it off? Why am I making this presentation this year? And, well, it is because we were talking about KDE Linux a lot, and KDE Linux has decided that you don't get to install random dependencies on your system anymore. You have to use different ways. Obviously, as experimental developers, we can find ways around it, but what we're talking about here is how do we make it easy, fun, and useful, right? And, well, we had to figure that one out. One we could say, and actually what we're going to see here, is that a lot of the infrastructure and the tools that we are to use are already there. But what I also want to say is, like, let's keep them in mind. But it's not only for KDE Linux. There's Kinoite as well, for example, similar kind of operating system. Also SteamOS has exactly the same. Yeah, right? It does weird things. What other one? This? Did it? I don't know if that is a bit uncomfortable, to be honest.
So, your choice.
Were you hearing me properly?
It was cutting out a bit, but I think it's okay. I don't know if the stream is the online feedback.
Can I try a bit more, maybe? Is it the batteries? Well, the batteries say super full here, so maybe I was not speaking properly, and I need to learn to speak. Let's have faith in the microphone, Lord and Savior. So we were talking. We have other reasons to use it. It's not just about KDE Linux. It's just KDE Linux gives us these KD-focused vision that gets to rally around all of us and actually like get Alex to get this presentation going. Now, getting on top of it, how do we work on it? How does that happen? Like we will see in this presentation, I'm gonna go through the different aspects of it, but it's not working. All right, then let's do the one here. And then I'm gonna turn that a little bit around. I'm gonna close this one laptop. This goes here. You have the Tetris music. I regret making you sing already. Right. So, like we were saying earlier, we have these JSON files on each project, but we also have another packaging, which is in GitHub, and it's what we ship in FlatHub. I'm gonna go a bit later about how we face this, but let's focus on that one. And that's the important one for us as a developer, because that's what's on our repo, right? Like, I am the developer of my application, and in my application, this is the recipe I have and I ship. And that does have a very important value. So, first thing you're gonna do as your application developer is what you're gonna clone, or you already have it because obviously you made it. And then you add Flatpak Builder. Flatpak Builder is a tool that is designed to parse that JSON file and produce the binaries. What Flatpak Builder is doing internally is, in Flatpak, we have the concept of SDKs, runtimes, and then actual applications. There's some other more concepts, but let's not go down into it. The SDK is the one that is going to be providing your compiler, your toolchain, etc. The runtime is what your users are going to need, so like your SO files. On the SDK, you're going to have the headers, if you want to think about it in C++ terms, although obviously you can use any other kind of language. So what you're going to see happening here is that this is going to start issuing calls to CMake, and CMake obviously will then call all of its configuration thing, like you would normally do. Then it also will be calling later Ninja or whatever you're using to build. It's actually something you can configure. And then it's just going to work. You can see that we're passing --install here, because what you want by the end of it is have the application installed so that you can run it and test it, see what was the problem, and iterate. Because what we're doing here, again, is not like using. What we're doing here is developing. 3 times. Makes it for more of a Balmer feel. Now, the command I just used, it's not what I normally used to make, so I'm going to go through this one because I think it's useful. We're passing this --repo thing. This repo that gets created is a store where all of the assets are going to be put. When you pass the install thing, not all of them get installed, things like debug symbols and such. So you create that repo, and then if you need debug symbols or this kind of stuff, it's going to be there. The first clean thing, what it does is, you can see that there's a first argument called app. This app directory will create, well, the things that you're installing. Like, you can think of that Flatpak as like a tar thing that becomes that one package. So in the app thing, you see all of the things that are there. And the force clean will remove it so that the next run will have it clean. If you don't pass force clean, the next time you run it, Flatpak Builder is going to say, app is not empty, you need to build it to clean it, so you might as well do that, or just add a rm-rf to the directory, which would more or less be the same, but why bother? Always pass that argument, that's fine. Ccache is also very important. It would be important normally on your development environment, because why do you want to ever build something twice? But here, what, like I was saying, now we're building from clean every time. So things will be getting built twice. Otherwise, if you pass this, then it doesn't, and it works, and happy times. Install, we already talked about, and disable updates is good because otherwise, like, it starts checking that all of your dependencies have updated, and like they won't be updating every time. Like, if you run this thing every like 2 or 3 minutes, you don't need to check that, I don't know, cake or add-ons has changed or whatever, right? So you pass this thing, and it's just fast and happy, and yeah. That line wasn't great, I admit, but it's free software, so we get to fix it, we get to improve it. You just need to learn some glib, and it's gonna be fine. Cool. Now, oh, I touched something here. I was talking about that Flatpak manifest JSON file, but this is what it looks like. This is from silly application I've been working on, but you will find 25 of them that are exactly the same within KDE. Like, yeah, most applications. So what do we have? An ID. You're familiar with this. It's reverse domain notation of your application. So it will normally be org.kd.your thing. The branch master is because, well, you saw that I was saying install. What you can say to me is then, like, if I am a, I don't know, KDeveloper, and I want to be developing on it, I don't want to like overwrite my Kate that I know is stable and I'm using to just test this one. So you will have the master branch here, but then you will also have the stable branch, let's say, I don't know, 2804 or whatever, and then you can have both installed and maybe compare or do what you must. What else? We have the runtime, which we normally use the KD1 because it has, well, all of the toolchain we need from free desktop, plus all of Qt, plus all of KD frameworks. So depending on this, you basically get everything except for Qt Web Engine. Qt Web Engine is one thing on top because, actually, yeah, Qt Web Engine is like this whole runtime twice in size. So it kind of made sense to just cut that one out and only pull it in when it's strictly necessary. What else do we have here? We see the SDK. There's a direct correlation between the platform and the SDK. The command that gets executed when you run it makes sense. Then we have the finish args. Finish args are arguments that get passed to Flatpak when you execute it. And these are going to be the things you need to break out of the confinement. Like, for example, here we're saying that this application is to get access to the network, so network. And actually, like, this is something that, for example, Discover, on the other hand, can use to say this application will access the network when you use it. Same thing, DRI, it will be for hardware acceleration. Wayland will be to be able to access Wayland. Same thing for X11, and then IPC is for dbus and some shared memories business. Makes sense, right? So where are we? We are at, like, I cloned my application, or I cloned your change, switch to your branch. I want to run it, so I do Flatpak builder with the arguments we said before, app, manifest, -- install, and whatever else. And yeah, actually, something interesting would be the modules part below that is going to say, you build this application, which is whatever is in the directory that we're on right now. This means that it's not like cloning it from your Git or something. It's like actually what is on your system. So if you do a local modification on that directory and you run Flatpak Builder again, these changes will be adopted, right? I guess this makes sense, but yeah, it's what we have. If you look, for example, at the recipes that we have on FlatHub, for example, you will never see something like dir dot or dir anything because you always get the software from somewhere else, right? Like you're always packaging the thing that is on invent.key.org, the thing that is on, I don't know, Microsoft.com, right? But never something that is in the Flatpak GitHub. Now, if we say, no, this is the recipe for cookie-dough, but it's not actually cookie-dough that I want to fix. I want to change something that is in a framework that is not cookie-dough itself. How do I do it? So in this modules vector, I guess that everybody is more or less familiar with the JSON syntax, right? Who understands no JSON? You. Well, even Harald understands JSON, even though he says he doesn't. So we do have the modules vector here, or array in the JavaScript lingo. We would be adding a new module here. For example, if we wanted to add Kirigami add-ons, that we wouldn't be cloning Kirigami add-ons, because what we want to do is to test a change we are doing. So we do the dir thing, the dot, the directory we want to use, and again, it will be like compiling and running the things that are there. And now it's when you say, what happens if it's something that is part of the platform, it's something that is part of the SDK, how do I do that? And what I would tell you is just do the same, right? Be it Qt, be it K-core add-ons, be it actual Kirigami. What we do in Flatpak normally is the SDK and the platform will have everything in /usr within the container. Your application, everything will go into /app. So your application, when it runs, it will look at /app, do its thing, and if the library is there, it will pick the library from /app. If it's not in /app, it will look for it in /usr. So if you just build a library on top of the platform and within the application and put it in /app, it always should work unless like there's some weird bug somewhere that says it's looking for things in the wrong place or whatever, which could happen, but it doesn't normally, and if it does, it's a bug, and we might as well fix it. Is that clear what I'm talking about here? If you're super confused, raise your hand. My goodness, I'm so good at explaining myself. All right, so, Right, so what we were talking about now was modifying the manifest to our advantage, but then at times it's not exactly what you want. Then there is this other different approach that you could also decide to use and might as well be useful. For example, earlier I was talking about how you want to use --install application and then execute it normally like you would the application. Something that you can also do is use the Flatpak builder, --run app Flatpak manifest, which we would use to like set Flatpak in the settings that like it knows what it wants to do, and then execute your binaries. For example, you wanted to run unit tests, you wanted to run the application itself, right? You can use it with that. And yeah, that's also going to make it possible for you to do most of the things. Like the thing that worries me, and I think that worries you when I am talking about this kind of tooling, is that you don't want to see yourself in a super stretched kind of situation and don't feel like you can do everything. You can do everything. Everything is doable. We just need to find the right environment. And for what it's worth, the program might as well be Bash, right? And then you will be inside of the build environment within Bash, and then you run your things inside. Something that you can do, for example, I worked a few years back in KDevelop integration for Flatpak so that you can work on all of your projects within it. And what we're doing there is we call CMake from this. Like when you add a new project, we don't modify the manifest. What you do is you call CMake on a repo, you build it, you install it in the /app, and you put everything there. And when you execute something, you run all of that plus executable, and it runs, correct environment. Awesome. when we run GDB, all of these things, GDB, it takes the GDB from the SDK, not from whatever is in the system, which is actually what we want, and it does its thing. So this is super powerful, and I think that, yeah, it's something that you will probably want to keep in mind. Something that also happens is, got a crash in Flatpak, what do I do? There's already this Flatpak core dump.ctl to, like, normally if another application has crashed, if that Torconky didn't work properly, we would go to core dump.ctl. Flatpak core dump.ctl is one that is designed to understand these intricacies from Flatpak, and it's also gonna do the right thing. And that works just fine. Now, yeah, we talked a little bit about this, but like, if you want to test an MR, what do you do it? So you git switch to that branch or whatever, like you would normally do on your system. You run Flatpak builder, and then you test what you wanted to test, right? If you want to test an MR that is in a framework, you add the, you put all of your repos in the branch that you want, then you also include whatever you want built into the manifest file, or do the weird Flatpak builder line if you actually want to have like super duper control on there. And then you test what you wanted to test, and then profit again. And actually, like, this is super powerful, right? Because you don't even need to be doing all of this testing in that same computer. Like, let's say you have a super powerful workstation that you like to use to build things, but then you want to test things on your low-powered Intel tablet, then you can build it on your desktop. You can export it into a file. This is not something I included, but like you can find the line you run easily. You send that file, you install it on the other device, and then you run it. And that also just works. To the extent that, for example, when doing tests for Plasma Mobile in the very, very beginning, I was already doing that. Because actually, like, building on a normal workstation with ARM emulation was much faster than building things on the target device. Which maybe it's not a thing anymore, but like back then, getting a server with ARM was super, super complex. Something to also keep in mind is that a lot of editors and IDEs like to parse all of the files within your project directory. If they happen to pick up the Flatpak builder or the app directory, they're gonna start parsing and analyzing a bunch of files that the editor probably doesn't really care that much about. Keep that in mind and do what you must. Also know your editor, know your tools, right? That's a given, I guess. Something that also I didn't mention, but like when we have this call here, the app doesn't necessarily need to be here. Like you can say, oh, where is it? /home something app banana, and that's going to be fine. And then it's not in your directory, and then your editor is not going to pick it up. Well, do what you want with it. Just don't waste your CPU cycles, because then polar bears die. Actually, when I sent this talk to Academy back in April or something, because yeah, we asked for this to happen fairly soon, I was thinking I would look into how to do it properly on different editors. So yeah, that's what I did. One thing I wanted to look into is how would we do properly LSP on these systems. LSP being the language server protocol, it feels like it probably would be the right way to approach this. Okay, let me do a disclaimer here. Like, when I started working in KD, one of my first things was working on KDevelop, because I personally value a lot having an editor that is powerful and understands the project I'm working on. But I know that many of you folks don't care about that. So do what you must. Like, you don't need to have ClankDiv running. If it's something you care about, well, that's how you do it. Here you can see that there's this environment variable called Flatpak enable SDK. well, ClankD is not part of the SDK by default, but if you pass this environment variable, Flatpak automatically detects that you want it, and it's going to get loaded. So then you have this path at the very end. You can execute that thing. It exists. But for example, GDB is part of the default SDK, or the default KD SDK. So GDB is already in it, and you don't need to pass that environment variable. Although if you pass the environment variable, it's fine because like it's still there, right? So ideally, what you would want is to have your editor. What you want to do is have proper Clang completions and warnings and stuff. You would want to have your editor run it like that, and then it's going to be issuing the right calls because there's the protocol, and it's going to get the right information back, and it's going to be awesome. But yeah, know your editor. Like many people use that with Vim, with vscode, with Kate. Actually, I started looking into how we would do that in Kate, and like for example, Kate is right now expecting ClankD to be in the host system. So I made a small merge request to make it possible to abstract that out somehow. And we're having a bit of a conversation there about how to make it happen more or less easily, but it's going to take some time. But it's certainly doable, right? Like, as soon as the process is running, it should be fine. Maybe VS Code is a bit weirder. Actually, VS Code I was expecting to be awesome in that, like, it seems like the cloud people and such love it to the extent that I don't really understand it. But people were telling me, it's so easy to extend, it's so easy to do the things. Well, I started looking into how people were doing this kind of stuff. They are asking you to create weird wrappers to set the environment variable, and then like you would get all of this script to become what it expects ClankD to be, and then you need to add settings.json file that will call the right thing. I honestly wasn't able to make it work properly, but maybe you can. And if not, you can use KDevelop. Like I said, I've been developing that for the longest time, and it's working quite well, so you might as well. We don't have a whole lot of time anymore, but I mentioned that I would talk about what we have in FlatHub. We have the manifest within your repo, and then we have a manifest in FlatHub. These are two separate files. It has its pros and its cons. I would say, as a maintainer, you should make sure that you're on top of both of them. You make sure that on FlatHub, you know what the dependencies are there, and on your own repo, you make sure that they're the same but more up to date. And what should happen is that when you make a new release, the one you have on your repo should more or less become what you have on FlatHub, with the difference of that on your repo, you will have the path, the thing I was showing earlier, to dot, and on FlatHub, you will have it point to KD, which is, yeah, a little bit different. It will happen at times that something you don't know how to make happen with Flatpak. It can be that you need to pass an extra finish args, maybe. It can be that it's simply not possible. Let's have the conversation. It might happen. It probably will happen to you, depending on what your application is like, much like it's happening for us on Wayland already and stuff like that. So you just do it. And we talk about it. If it's fixable, if it's a good idea, we can submit it upstream. If it's not, we can be sad, hug a little bit, and move on, maybe have a beer or two. But yeah, that's more or less what I wanted to talk about. Remember to keep your Flatpak manifests fresh, to sync it with FlatHubs, making sure that your users have the best experience according to your perspective, because you're the one who understands your project more than anyone else. Don't expect somebody else to be packaging your application, or at least not to the extent we were used to. And join upstream, be upstream, right? Like when something is not possible to be done on Flatpak, like on Qt or wherever, what we do is we look, we fix it, and we move on, right? Which is what we also should be doing here. Yes, so that's what I wanted to talk about. In case there's any questions, we might have some time.
Thank you. That was great. You make it all seem so simple.
Well, that's the idea, isn't it?
I have a question that's somewhere in between development workflow and distribution. So one thing that I really like on Steam that I've always been a bit jealous of is that as a developer, you can have named beta channels there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell your user, I tried fixing this for you, or here's a fancy new feature. I want you to be able to try that out. But you can go to Discover, let's say, and go into the details and pick that named beta. Is there something like that that already exists or is coming across that whole chain from like me at my system to FlatHub to Discover?
So in terms of Flatpak, like I said, this is what would be the branch we have here, right? Like, it's doable. On FlatHub level, we've been looking into how we want to do that, and actually, like, FlatHub is in flux. We're not, like, decided. Like, for example, at the beginning, we had a Flatpak beta repo, which we would use for doing these kind of things. I think, removed that one. We need to see what we want to do. Also, like, FlatHub, at the beginning, the plan was everybody builds their thing like in GitHub. Where we're moving is you as a developer, you build it in your own CI, and then you push to FlatHub, which is gonna like change the dynamics a little bit and make these things more possible and easy, right? Because in the end, these kind of nightlies, you want to have some control over them, right? It's not as easy as just keeping running always. So there is some level of flux. It's something we want to hold on to. But for example, the other way of looking at it is in KDE, whenever we, like, if you have in your GitLab CI YAML file Flatpak, it's a YAML file, Harald, you're going to love it. You will get a Flatpak asset, which is a file that you download and then you install, right? So for each merge request, for each commit, so to speak, you're going to have that. So you can already do a lot of that. Do we have any other questions?
There was one question from chat. Does anyone know if there's an official Flatpak manifest JSON schema? The answer is yes, because it's in the Flatpak builder folder.
Thank you for the question and the answer.
Thanks, Silver Hikari, on chat.
Good.
What is the overhead of kind of, I'm just imagining I'm kind of, constantly building, trying out things and so on. I mean, there is certainly certain overhead of using Flatpak for developing like this instead of just doing everything locally. So is that noticeable? Is that something you don't mind at all?
I think it's very acceptable. It all depends on the size of your project. If your project is humongous, you might want to like not do the whole, just trust the C cache is gonna cache all of your objects, and instead do the, like run your build process within the container, right? Like then you run CMake and then you run Ninja, and like it would be exactly the same as without any containers. But effectively, like it should all just work, and it's not that bad.
Right, one last question.
So there are quite a lot of tooling for Flatpak, like the thing you showed before, really like to not have these long commands anymore and do like these clunky things with Flatpak. Also for things like spawning a shell and doing stuff like that for development. For example,
The microphone died. I can hear tapping.
and also vscode extension, as far as I know, working for this use case. Or?
Oh, I did try, for example, the VS Code integration, and well, it wasn't doing what I was hoping. Like I was hoping, for example, that it would set up for me in ClangD and stuff like that. What it was doing was executing Flatpak builder, much like we're doing here on the terminal. Like it does some things, it's useful, but like from a ID integration perspective, what I was expecting is like actually set up the like what I want from the editor is the editor integration aspect rather than the execution of my application. But like, yeah, it's a step in the right direction, and I'm sure like there is lots of work we can do. And I'm sure that I missed some of the tooling. Like maybe some of my information is out of date because, yeah, I've been doing that for quite a while. Cool.
All right, we're out of time, so
Out of time.
thank you again, Alesh.
Thank you.